Hello everyone, this is Jotto and welcome to Versus Series, where a member of my team, Acebreakers, faces off against a well-known or up-and-coming pro player. Now, for this week, we have Icegirl from Team Acebreakers, who will be playing against HitGirl from Team Luckydraw. So, keeping that in mind, on to the decks. Now, Icegirl has started off with a Handlock deck. This is a very consistent Handlock deck. Double Iron Cow, double Siphon Soul, pretty much two ofs all the way down. Besides Faceless Manipulator as a one-off, and also the Ragnaros to help out a little bit with the more control-y matchups. Now, HitGirl has brought a Miracle Rogue running the South Sea Deckhand Faceless combo. This is South Sea Deckhand, you get your Cold Bloods on your South Sea, then your Faceless your South Sea, and you just whack him in the face for a bunch of damage. Besides that, a couple other interesting additions here. There's one Gnomish on top of the Singular Fan and Singular Blade Flurry, so only two AoEs in the whole deck, which is a little risky, but actually fairly decent. It's just a little bit on the riskier side of things. But we'll have to see how this plays out. Generally, Handlock is very good against Miracles, so we'll have to see how it goes from here. On to the Mulligans. As for Mulligans, I think you just send back the Cold Blood. You're going second. You can keep the rest of that. And the Mulligan at Molten Jaraxxus and Sludge Belcher seems about right on Icegirl's side of things. So, on to game one. There is a Mountain Giant in the opening hand there. There is a Coin Cleave. Now, I kept the Eviscerate because you need to be able to kill the Giant. It's very difficult, but you need to be able to kill a Giant. But we'll have to see how this particular game goes. As I said, generally Handlock is a very tough matchup for the Miracle Rogue. As we're going to see this turn 4 Giant come down. We may even see a Faceless on a Giant, which would be very interesting to see. Curious not to actually go for the Coin Cleave there, although I think it's because he wants to coin a Faceless to deal with something. There's a Sap there. That would be pretty handy when it comes down to later on in the game. We may see a Coin Deadly Poison 6/6 Van Cleef, which will allow him to backstab anything. Pretty much, I mean, backstab to kill pretty much anything. That Edwin is pretty huge. This is where it gets interesting. I think you actually Ironbeak Owl here and tap. Actually, can you tap? 8 cards. You can. You can tap to 10. But he's just counting the cards in his hand just to make sure. Always something you should be doing. Preparation. Not going to be much use. So we're most likely just going to see a SI7 come down here and just use the dagger to take out the 2-1, just hit the face. I mean, SI, you may need it for later on. Alright, he's going for the backstab, trying to get a lot more pressure going here. I'm not sure whether that's the correct play, but this hand is not giving him that many options. That Ironbeak Owl really did shut him down. Here comes the Hellfire. This is getting dangerous. There's going to be a Molten coming down here soon. Now, the two options there were Giant and take a bunch of damage, or just Hellfire, and he just went for the Hellfire, which makes sense. There's no reason to play in a risky manner. Now, the Jaraxxus is probably not going to do anything this game. What we're looking at here is the Mountain Giant is going to do the most amount of work for Icegirl. I doubt the Molten's going to come out. Usually if the Molten comes out to play, it's a mistake, but we'll have to see how this game goes. There might be enough self-damage for her to just bring out the Giant. We'll have to see. We may actually witness a Faceless Prep Sap. Is it going to happen? I would not be surprised if that's the play here. This hand is pretty miserable. We may see a Faceless Prep Sap. The problem is that there's a Siphon Soul, which will deal with that immediately. But out of that play, there's pretty much nothing else. I mean, there is Attack the Giant, Flurry, Eviscerate. That just feels wrong, though. I mean, the other problem is, I think one of the only ways you win this game is with South Sea Deckhand. I would not attack the face, though. I mean, South Sea Deckhand combo at the moment does 12 damage, plus the Eviscerate, but that's 6, 7 mana already. And yeah, you could prep it, so that's 16. You actually didn't need to attack with the dagger there. I think that was a mistake. Yes, we're going to see a Molten come down here. I think that was a pretty big mistake. Molten into Sun Fury. That's completely brutal. We could even see Earthen Ring Defender. But yeah, the Molten coming down while it can. Absolutely brutal there. Very, very difficult to come back from this, if it's even possible. Second Cold Blood, but there's nothing to Cold Blood. There's just no minions on the board whatsoever. Absolutely no minions. And that's just kind of how Miracle works sometimes. Sometimes you just don't get what you need in terms of the minions. Come on, Faceless Sap. We need a Faceless Sap. I think this game's pretty much over, but Faceless Sap would be interesting. I think you Faceless the 8/8 with Taunt and then sap the 8/8 with Taunt. No, you sap the Molten. Actually, which one would cost more? But by the looks of it, we're not going to see a Faceless come down here. It's just going to be a sap. And probably an Eviscerate on this 4/2 and just hope that you top deck South Sea Deckhand. HitGirl is playing to 1 out right now. There is 1 out in the whole deck. But even then, that wouldn't do anything because what's going to come down next turn is actually just another Giant and a Defender of Argus. Which pretty much seals his fate here. Yeah, as you see, Giant and Defender, and there's no way through that wall. That's just the end of the game there. I do not see a way back from that. That is the end of the game right there. What's at the top of the deck? An Earthen Ring. You might as well double Cold Blood your opponent's Giant for the sake of it. I mean, he does live a turn by doing it this way, but the game's pretty much over as we just see Siphon Soul. Too many taunts, very difficult to get past, and HitGirl just couldn't get through. So anyway, that's pretty much how Miracle vs. Handlock works in general, to be honest. And what do we see? Well, if you can't beat him, join him, as we see another Handlock list come out here. Now, there's a couple interesting things in this Handlock list. The first one is Sacrificial Pact. If that actually comes up, I'm going to be laughing. If there is actually a Sac Pacted Jiraxxus, I am going to be laughing. Something else that's different is the 1-off Mortal Coil, which kind of makes up for the Sac Pact advantage, is the Mortal Coil disadvantage. But there's also 1 less Hellfire, so 1 less Sweeper. Besides that, same number of Facelesses, no Big Game Hunters between them. So the major differences are basically just 1 less Sweeper in favor of the Sac Pact, and what? Jiraxxus instead of Mortal Coil. There's only a 2-card difference between these lists. I do think that if it goes to a Jiraxxus Wars, HitGirl has the advantage. If it doesn't, though, Icegirl has a slight advantage with that Ragnaros. But it's not by much. I mean, the mirror is very coin flippy. It's basically whoever gets more of the 4 drops. So, Mountain Giant and Twilight Drake. But anyway, this will be a very interesting game. We'll have to see where it goes. So anyway, on to the mulligans. Straight snap mulligan there. And we're going to see a snap mulligan here of everything apart from the Ancient Watcher. That was pretty quick mulligans there, but it's pretty basic what you mulligan in this particular matchup. Now we have an interesting hand here from Icegirl. There are 3 Ancient Watchers between them in their hands. Nope, there's 4. I have never seen that many Ancient Watchers in people's hands before. Oh, we have a Drake. Was there 8? No, you can't tap on turn 3. So there's going to be a coin Drake come out here. And no 4-drop for HitGirl. This is actually a pretty big deal. However, there's an Ironbeak Owl to deal with that Drake. I actually do think you coin Drake here. It does weaken your Drake. The other option is Ancient Watcher and then next turn Drake, which would leave you with a stronger Drake. But I think getting the Drake out first is better, especially considering you're playing in the mirror, which means the Jotto Owl is roaming around. And for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's my channel mascot. Tapping on turn 4 is never a good thing. However, there is the Ironbeak Owl to save the day and completely ruin that Twilight Drake's life. Earthring Farseer does not work when its maximum life is 1, I'm afraid. So I think what we're going to see here is actually taunting up an Ancient Watcher and then just not trading. Interesting. Saving that Sun Fury, I think I can see why. Saving the Sun Fury simply because your opponent could just break through and you only have 1 taunt in your hand. Well, you only have 1 taunt giver. There's also a Sludge Belcher, but there's only 1 taunt giver. So Immortal Coil comes down here. I think I'm more in favor of the Sludge Belcher and then trading. We'll have to see where he goes with this, though. Are we actually going to see 2 Ancient Watchers? There's going to be 4 Ancient Watchers on the board. I think it's actually a mistake to play the second one, but yeah. Missed the 4. We missed the 4. That's miserable, as we're going to see the taunt. The taunt wall. Is there a Shadow Flame? There is a Shadow Flame. Oh, wow. 3 mana giant. No Siphon Soul. That's a big deal. That looks like a Watcher being dragged there. Watcher Giant is a good play, I'd say, but there's also Watcher Defender. This is getting ridiculous. There are 4 taunted Ancient Watchers. That's insane. I have never seen that many Ancient Watchers before. I think we're actually going to see a Shadow Flame here. The problem is, Shadow Flame is such a good card in the mirror. We could see a Hellfire. Hellfire doesn't do much here. I think we're going to see tap Shadow Flame. That's what I genuinely think. Oh, this is really risky. This is the Shadow Flame to end all Shadow Flames coming down here. Although I say that, but there's only 4 damage being put on the board. But yeah, I think it was a mistake not using the Shadow Flame. It was a bit too risky. And the Ironbeak Owl. That's insane. That was such a good turn there. It was so risky to not Shadow Flame there. We'll have to see what Icegirl can pull off. We do potentially have an Earthen Ring into Shadow Flame Soulfire. We could also see Hellfire. Does the same thing here. Is there going to be a Soulfire here? I actually think there should be. So full board clear, discarding the Rag. There goes the advantage, but what can you do? That's what Soulfire does. It discards the highest priority target. And I think the Jiraxis is just going to be the winning factor here. First Giant comes down on turn 8. On turn 8, we saw her first Giant in a Handlock mirror. That's kind of insane, actually. Watch, it's going to discard Jiraxis. No, it didn't. Top deck Siphon Soul? What the hell? If you don't Siphon Soul this, it's kind of miserable is the problem. Ah, slight sequencing mistake there, but whatever. Yeah, I think not Siphon Souling there was a big mistake. That just kind of cost the game right there. That was a lot faster than I was expecting for a Handlock mirror, I must admit. I think not Siphon Souling there was quite a big mistake because it does leave you dead to just kill spell, basically. So I think that was a mistake at the end there. There were a couple of mistakes in there which kind of accelerated the game. So Handlock mirror is usually a bit finicky, but not usually that finicky. What is finicky is having to bring in Priest against Handlock. This is going to be interesting for a couple reasons. First of all, it's Priest versus Handlock. Now, what does that mean? It means that there are two cards that pretty much shut down. Shadow Madness and Cabal. I mean, they do have targets. They're just not good targets. They're 2/3s. You're basically stealing a 2/3 that's already given the taunt. So it's a bit risky, and it's just not that fantastic, considering you have to invest so much mana into it. On the plus side of things, Ragnaros will help a lot, Sylvanas will help a lot. Shadow Word Death is also a very good card in this matchup, and I don't believe there's an efficient way of dealing with Twilight Drake, so I think that's going to be the big deciding factor here. The two big deciding factors are going to be the late game legendaries, which Icegirl has access to, namely Kel'Thuzad, Ragnaros, and Sylvanas. And we'll see how those counteract the Giants and Twilight Drakes. So this is going to be an interesting game. I will say this is probably going to be a very long game. Depends. The Handlock, if it's a quick game, it's because the Handlock just ran over it. But if it's not a quick game, then it means that this is going to go probably to fatigue. If it doesn't end quickly, this is going to end up being a sort of Kel'Thuzad, Ragnaros, and Lord Jaraxxus type game in fatigue, I should imagine. So anyway, on to the mulligans. I think you send back the whole hand here for the Warlock, and everything apart from Thoughtsteal. I think I would have actually kept that Thoughtsteal. I don't know, it's difficult to tell. I mean, it's not a fantastic card to keep, however, you will get the chance to play it on turn 3. Oh, we do actually have a Thoughtsteal here. So there's going to be a Thoughtsteal anyway. I mean, Thoughtsteal is very good going first, especially because you can Thoughtsteal into a 4-drop and then play it before your opponent can. Very aggressive start coming out here, although I will say Zombie Chow is more of a board control based priest card. It's more of a board control based card in general. Not fantastic at the whole being aggressive thing. And that Thoughtsteal, that could actually make this game winnable. 2 Giants? That's a big deal. That is a very big deal. And Sun Fury gets discarded. Interesting choice of Soulfire there. Couple resources gone is all you need. The question is, what do you do here? I think we're going to see a coin Loatheb and then just attack the face. Yeah. If you're going to trade, you always want to do it first with the quarters. Eleven mana Siphon Souls. But there's the Defender of Argus, also known as the Loatheb Killer. Oh wow, Orkanite, top deck. That is crazy. So we're going to see Traded Loot Hoarder and then Orkanite Circle. That is insane value. Absolutely insane value. Straight up grade A value there. We're actually seeing a Giant come down next turn. This could be interesting. We're going to see a Hellfire because he can't play Loatheb. This is one of those weird situations. Can't play Loatheb, can't play Belcher, because they basically get cancelled out. by that Orkanite. That was an incredibly good sequence of turns there for Icegirl. I mean, this is getting Siphon Soul, but that is one Siphon Soul down with another one in her hand and 2 left in the deck, being Ragnaros and Kel'Thuzad. This is actually going pretty well, which is shocking. Wow! Another Mountain Giant! This is actually going to be close. Normally, these games don't go close. But I got a feeling this is actually going to be a close game. I think you heal pass here. Get a 4 mana giant, go from there. This is getting interesting. We'll have to see how this game goes from here. Because honestly, I have no idea where this is going from here. Yeah, Lothar comes down, and then we've got the Earthen Ring. That will deal with a giant, but I can't help but noticing that HitGirl is running out of resources. Yeah, and the Cultist comes down here, obviously, but this is a serious run out of resources. I'll have to see where it goes from here. Draxus, I think, is the only way that HitGirl can actually win now. We're going to see a second Siphon Soul on, you know, another Mountain Giant, which I just find kind of amusing. Or we could see a giant itself. So, there's already been 2 Mountain Giants played this game, and both of them have been from the Priest, which is kind of amusing, I must admit. The real question is, what do you play here? I think you go for the Sylvanas. You may want to hold on to that Sylvanas, though. Maybe the Belcher? I think Belcher is an interesting play here, because the Lothar has to trade into it, no matter what. So, Belcher, Zombie Chow, and then heal. Question is, are we going to see a Ironbeak Owl here? I don't think we are. I think that Ironbeak Owl needs to be saved. There's only 1 in the deck. There's only 1 in the deck. Oh, there's actually 2. Where did I read 1? No, there are 2. Okay. There was something that was a one of. Apparently it's not Ironbeak Owls. This game is getting clawed back right now. HitGirl was so far behind a couple turns ago, and it's really being clawed back right now. We're going to have to see some sort of Shadow or Death come off the top here. Otherwise, Icegirl's in some serious trouble. I would almost say Cabal is possibly the best play here. Sylvanas is the most obvious, but I think Cabal is the best. Interesting, going for double Northshire. I think I can see why. She's trying to set up some sort of Kel'Thuzad turn here. The problem is Shadow Flame. I think we're actually just going to see a Shadow Flame for the ages here. Tap into Shadow Flame and trade the 3/2 into the Cabal, and I think that is pretty much all she wrote as far as that's concerned, although there could be some comebacks with some Ragnaros, or KT is pretty bad in this matchup because of the Giants. I think you Shadow Flame here. I actually think you Shadow Flame the 4/3 after attacking, and then you run the 3/2 into the 4/1 at that point, and then just attack the face for 8. Leaves you with 4 mana, which, I mean, 4 mana doesn't actually let you do anything. The problem is if you just play the Giant here, you're leaving a Northshire on the board. Unless you trade that specific... You're leaving something on the board is the point. Okay, if that's the play, then I actually think there's going to be Shadow Flame here. On the 4/3 by the looks of it. Yeah, almost Shadow Flame the 8/8. You do not need Shadow Flame the 8/8 here. I do not agree with that. There is no death. in the HitGirl's hand. Never mind. Apparently I'm wrong. HitGirl can see into the future. I still think that playing the way to keep the giant alive was the better way of doing it. But we'll have to see where it goes from here. I mean, obviously it plays around Shadow Word Death, but something is getting Shadow Word Death. Like, it's not like you're saving. It's not like your opponent just can't Shadow Word Death next time you play something big. We may just see a full trade into this giant. I would not be surprised, to be honest. Whoa, Soulfire. That is interesting. It's getting pretty low, though. Power Word Shield. So this Power Word Shield's going on to the Sylvanas if the sequencing is going in this direction. Okay, sequencing error there, but yeah, obviously you want to play the Power Word Shield first. But this is getting a bit precarious, although if you really think about it, there is no silence left for the Sylvanas. There's no way of killing the Sylvanas out of absolutely ridiculous plays. Oh, that is huge. That Jiraxis is pretty much HitGirl's way of winning this game. But this is still getting pretty risky here. Going in for the 4. I think we're going to see a legendary Kel'Thuzad here. And this Kel'Thuzad is going to completely stop everything. This entire board is going to trade into this KT. Actually, even can't. The Ancient Watcher can't attack. There is no way of killing this besides Shadow Flame. Alright, Shadow Flame is very, very good here. But if you Shadow Flame, you can't Jiraxis. Yeah, he's going for the Shadow Flame play. That makes sense. I think you can wait for Jiraxis. There's the Sack Pact. I think you can wait for Jiraxis. You want to Shadow Flame the 4-5, kill this KT, kill the rest of the board, and go from there. You definitely want to kill this KT. KT Kel'Thuzad, basically. But, Kel'Thuzad will take over the game on his own if you don't kill him here, especially with a Sylvanas on the board. That is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Having the ability to trade off the Sylvanas every single turn with a KT on the board is just ridiculous. So we're going to have to see a Shadow Flame here. That's the last Shadow Flame, if I recall correctly. Yeah, there was one used on a Giant earlier, so we're going to see a Shadow Flame here. 3 for 3? No, 4 for 3. But that was a pretty good turn if you really think about it. Although this game is getting close to fatigue. I think this Cabal just comes down, to be honest. 6 mana 4/5, 6 mana Yeti, I'll take it. This may be the turn where the Molten Giant basically gets told stuff it and Jiraxis comes down here. What do I mean by that? It's pretty hard to get a Molten Giant out when you have Jiraxis equipped. I say equipped. It's not really a weapon, but it's... I mean, it changes the way you have to play the game drastically. Although, this is a very, very patient use. It may come back to bite him a bit, because Jiraxis, the earlier you get him down, the stronger he is a lot of the time. Like, in this particular case, because the Priest doesn't have that much reach. I mean, funnily enough, if he'd played it, he would be on 2 life right now, but then he could Hero Power Sack Pack to go back up to 7. There is no way of dealing with this Rag right now. Absolutely no way in the deck of dealing with this Rag right now, now that I think about it. This is getting interesting. There is nothing left. Nothing left in the deck can deal with this. So we're going to see a Twilight Drake come down. And that's not that powerful anymore. That Twilight Drake is actually quite weak. There's the cultist. We've already seen a Soulfire, but just going for the heal anyway. Death Rattle on the Undertaker trigger. That's kind of funny. Go straight for the face. This is going to force the Jiraxis. No way of living unless you play this Jiraxis. There's a faceless play in here somewhere. I mean, there is double Molten Giant into Jiraxis. I think we're actually going to see one of the legendary Ragnaros or Bust wins or losses. It's going to be one of those games that lasts a really long time and is going to end up on a roll, because if you actually look at this Rag has a 1 in 3 chance of winning the game immediately. Do you go for lethal here? I think you have to. I mean, you're going for the 50-50 to not lose, as opposed to the 100%, as opposed to the 1 in 3 to win the game on the spot. I think this is technically the better play. Yes, it goes to the face, and that's going to be game decided by rag shots. Should have gone to the face. Actually, would that even been lethal? No, it wouldn't. Oh. Random video stop at the end. But basically, just Jiraxis to switch in there. But anyway, I stand corrected. That actually would not have been lethal at the end there. So, good play on Icegirl's part at the end. So, 3 games. The first one was a case of Mirror getting slaughtered by one of its worst matchups. Second game, Handlock Mirror gone wrong, basically. And the third game was just one of the most insane Priest versus Handlock games I've seen in a while. The Thought Steals were insane. There were 3 giants that came off Thought Steals. 3! That's ridiculous. 2 mountains and a molten come off Thought Steals. That is absolutely insane. I have not seen that in a while. But that game was very close. It really did come down to one singular rag shot. In fact, it came down to 2 rag shots. If one of the rags shots had hit the Twilight Drake, then no moltens would have been played. Because they had to play Jiraxis. So there would have been no moltens. And Icegirl would have won the game. If it had hit the Molten Giant, Icegirl would have won the game. There was no way of winning past there. So, HitGirl had a 25% chance of winning that game and lost it. However, you can't really get on the RNG case here too much, because there were 2 Mountain Giants and a Molten stolen by Thought Steals. So, can't really get on the RNG train too much there. But anyway, it was a very interesting last game, I'll put it that way. But anyway, final score, 2-1 to HitGirl. Pretty good comeback towards the end there. Lost the first game, ended up coming back in games 2 and 3. Thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, put it in the comment section below. But as for now, it has been Jotto, signing off.